Today, I'm going to be sharing 30 tips for how to become a successful social media manager in 30 days. I think the beautiful thing about social media management is you can get it up and running quickly. And I tried many side hustles in my time on the internet as just being a teenager, as just being someone who likes to make extra cash to fund her handbag addiction. And social media management was the first thing that I ever tried that had such an immediate impact. In my first month, I made $1,000. And while that may not seem like a lot of money to some people, it was huge to me. It was life-changing. That was all the way back in 2019, and now social media management is my full-time job. I have my own agency with a couple of contractors who work with me, and I also teach people like you guys how you can do the same. So let's dive into these 30 tips. Bring a notebook, bring a pen, because I'm about to drop a lot of information here. The first one is don't waste time setting up an Instagram account, and the second one is don't waste time setting up a website. Now, these are two valuable assets to have in a business, but when you are just getting started, when you're first experimenting with your business and trying to book those first few clients, you shouldn't be distracting yourself with these things like running an Instagram account, coming up with the logo, your website name. All of those things just soak up time, and before you know it, you'll be 6 months into your side hustle and you won't have made any money, you won't have worked with any businesses because you spent so long on your website. People are always so shocked to find out that I did not have a website when I first started my side hustle. I actually only created my website once I went full time into my business, and I was kind of like, well, should probably take this kind of seriously now. And the reason I didn't have an Instagram account is probably something a lot of you guys can relate to, but I didn't want any of my friends and family knowing what I was doing at the time. I also didn't want my colleagues or my boss who followed me on Instagram knowing. So I was very sly when I started out. And the reason this works so well is because you have all of your time and energy to focus on the number one important thing in starting a social media management business, and that's booking clients and getting client experience. This approach to social media management has worked for myself and so many of my students. I have a student called Esther who actually started and scaled her business to the point that she could leave her corporate job without a single drop of marketing. It was all about cold pitching and referral. She didn't have an Instagram page, she didn't have a website, and she was able to scale her business without all of that. So if we don't have a website, what can we use instead? This brings me to tip number 3, which is creating a sales deck, a services list, a sales PDF, whatever you want to call it. The goal here is to create something probably on Canva, and it's something that can be really quick and easy to put together. There's templates out there. I actually have a template if you're interested. And this is something that you can set aside 2-3 hours to put together. It looks super professional. It showcases your work and talents. It shows your services, the ways to work with you, all of the things that would typically go on a website. However, the idea is you put yourself under some time pressure and you say, okay, we're going to spend 1 afternoon or 2 afternoons, put this all together, and we're ready to go. Versus a website, you might get muddled up with buying domain names, who's your website host, and then you've got all of the coding, the website layout, the design of the pages, and it's just so much faster to create a sales PDF instead, and this works. This will book you clients. This brings me to the 4th tip, another one that is a big common misconception when it comes to getting started as a social media manager, and that is that you don't actually need a niche. I know everybody on YouTube, on Instagram is going niche down, niche down. People will not stop talking about niching down in your business as the only way to success. And when I tell people you don't have to niche down to be successful, there's like a sigh of relief in the room. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Now, my problem with niching down so early on in your business when you're just trying to get those first couple of clients is people can put themselves in a really tight box in an industry that they haven't really researched or experienced and talked to people. You don't really know until you try a niche if it's profitable, if there's businesses looking for social media managers in that area, and you may actually hate it. Right? And there may be a niche that you cut yourself out from trying in the beginning And maybe that's actually your calling. Like for me, I've actually pivoted and started working in my social media management business with a lot of other courses and coaches. And that is because of what I do in the other half of my business, selling my course, The Dishing Up Digital School. Clients see that success and they want to work with me. But I never would have thought to choose that as a niche starting out. But my advice for you is to choose a broader niche. So instead of going for, local cafes, maybe broaden things up and go for a food niche. So you could work with like an online chef personality. You could work with an influencer in the foodie space. You could work with the local cafe. You could work with a bar. You could work with a lot of different businesses that fall under the broader food niche. Once you're underway, once you've booked those first 5-6 clients, you're going to find clarity in your niche and you might tighten up. You might specialize further. If there's a clear niche for you that you have in your mind and you're passionate about, go for it. But there's so many of us who don't have that luxury, who don't know what niche to choose. And I just want to say it's okay. I've been there. I've seen so many of my students go through it, and you can still be successful. My next tip is, instead of niching down, think about specializing, and specializing more specifically in a platform. One thing that's really overwhelming when people are like, hey, let me try this social media management thing. Let me start this new side hustle or business. Once you actually get into it, and you uncover all of the platforms that fall under the social media or the online marketing umbrella, it's like, whoa. I can't do all that. I can't do all that for multiple clients. This is madness. I started with Instagram in my business, and this is still my specialty today. So even 4 years down the track, I haven't gone out and learned about Pinterest. Now, you might love Pinterest. You might already know a lot about Pinterest. So maybe you do actually offer Instagram and Pinterest services. There's a lot of my students that have done that. But if you know nothing about running Facebook ads, maybe don't dive into that and offer that as your services from the get-go. Tip number 6, we're getting ready to go now. This is where we're starting to build momentum. We build out our services list, we've got our PDF, we know what services we want to offer on what platforms. Now it's time to get out in front of clients. This tip is to start cold pitching. When you're getting started, you don't have the luxury of having a list of past clients for referrals. You don't have a network yet. You need to build that. A lot of people will tell you that you need to become friends with a business on Instagram before pitching to them. That cold pitching is gross and it doesn't work, and you need to like someone's Instagram post, comment, DM them for a couple of weeks, and then pitch your services. This is not realistic if you want to become a social media manager and start generating money in 30 days. The most efficient way is to send out a lot of pitches, talking about like 20 to 50 pitches in the space of a couple of weeks to try land your first few clients, because this is the biggest hurdle and the hardest part of getting started as a social media manager. Now, I talk about pitching a lot. Again, I could do a whole video on this, so let me know if you guys want to listen to that. But in the meantime, I'm going to link to a TikTok video that I posted, which talks about the 3 biggest mistakes people make when it comes to cold pitching, and hopefully that will give you some handy tips to get started. The thing you need to remember about pitching, and the thing that's tip number 7 in this video, is it's a numbers game. So you really need to make sure you're sending out a good amount of pitches. It's actually really normal to send 20 cold pitches to book 1 client. When I heard another social media manager talk about this very early on in my journey, the way that they phrased it was, it is a numbers game and you just need to figure out what your number is and really pull out the emotions from, oh no, I've got 20 rejections, and just be like, okay, so it's going to take me 30 emails to book my client. So if I want to book 2, I need to send 60 emails. It's all about picking yourself up and moving through the challenges. And this is a great lesson to learn so early on in your social media management journey. Which brings me very nicely to tip number 8, which is never stop at the first no. There's a brilliant Kris Jenner quote. Yes, I am quoting the Kardashian momager. If someone says no to you, you're just asking the wrong person. And I love that attitude, especially when it comes to building your online business. If someone says no, if someone says you're too expensive, if someone says that's not the right service that you're offering, don't just listen to one person's opinion. You are going to get a lot of no's in your business journey, whether it is, a no to a pitch, a no to a price increase. This is just part of being a business owner. The next important thing to learn is that you can really find clients anywhere. Start with your own personal circles. I've had students who have, started running an Instagram page for an aunt or uncle or mum or dad's business, a husband's business. I also had a student who had like a mum that she knew through her kids' school who had like an earring business, and she kind of reached out to her. They were kind of like loose friends, her kids were friends, and that was her first client. So utilize those personal connections where it's family, friend, people you work with, friends of friends. Put the feelers out there and see who you can find who are already in those social circles with you. The next thing is just take a walk down the street. All of those businesses around the place need social media managers, and a lot of them don't have them yet. My favorite place to go to, which is a real hotspot for finding clients, are markets. So go to like a local Sunday market or a craft market, walk down those stalls. You'll see candle makers, people doing pottery, people doing art. A lot of these businesses rely on the foot traffic of markets and don't have good social media marketing in place, and they could utilize someone like you. Then of course there is the whole world, or the whole online world, that is the internet, with endless businesses. People are starting online businesses every day. It is an incredible place to find clients, whether you're joining Facebook groups, whether you're just browsing hashtags on Instagram. Really be persistent and keep looking for those clients. Open your eyes up because they are around every corner. Tip number 10 is a quick one, but remind yourself consistently of the value of a social media manager. You're going to come across people in your journey who question what you do and question the importance of a job of a social media manager. Don't listen to those people. Start building up that thick skin and believing in your services, because the more that you believe in them, the better you're going to be able to sell them. Tip number 11, testimonials are gold. You need these. These are so valuable. Treasure, collect, and worship those testimonials because they will help you book more clients. If you're just getting started and maybe you don't have any clients, offer to work at a discounted rate in exchange for those testimonials, because those are actually more valuable to you right now than cash. That is how good these are. They're really going to help win over those clients who are on the fence, who maybe haven't had a social media manager before, who are a bit nervous, or just really want to know what you can do for them. Tip number 12, utilize any past experience or skills or projects that could be relevant for you. I have students in the Dishing Up Digital School who might have a personal travel Instagram page. I had someone who had this amazing book Instagram account where they did book reviews, really cool photos, and they were kind of like, oh, is this relevant to what I'm doing? I don't know if I should put this on my sales PDF. Now go look at this Instagram page. First of all, it's stunning, and it's got something like 50,000 followers. And I'm like, brilliant. That might just be a side project, a little passion project for you, but to a client, that's impressive stuff, right? So even it doesn't have to be 50,000 followers, but even if it's just a couple of hundred followers, you're showing the engagement, you're showing that you understand the app, that you use it consistently. Anything that you have experience in, put it on your sales PDF. Tip number 13 is to target small or mid-sized businesses when you're first getting started in this crucial 30-day period. These are the types of businesses who are going to be willing to take a chance on a newbie like you. Being a small social media manager, a new social media manager, can actually be your advantage when compared to big agencies. You're going to give your clients so much love. They're going to get to work with you one-on-one and have direct contact with who's managing their account, whereas often with marketing agencies, you'll find that businesses will get outsourced to the junior account manager and all of these other things. So there are advantages to being in your seat, even though it might feel like you're inexperienced or whatever at the moment. Trust me when I say there are businesses out there who are looking for your services. My next tip is to start offering free discovery calls. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's a free call to discover more about your services. And it's really nice when you're working in the online space to actually meet face-to-face or over Zoom to make sure you're not a scammer or some kind of dodgy person, which there are a lot on the internet, unfortunately. So this is a really great way to do that. And I think once you get someone on a discovery call, they're way more likely to book your services. One of the strategies that I teach my students, which by the way, if you want to come along to my free webinar that's coming up on March 21st, I'm going to link it down below. It's going to be awesome. You can get a little bit of taste of my training, come along with your questions, get coached with me, and it's all free and it's all live. But one of the things that I often teach, and which will probably come up in this webinar, is having a tiered system. So a basic package, a mid-tier package, and a deluxe package. This means you're kind of covering off all your bases and giving the client a good amount of options, but also not overwhelming them with too many options. On this topic, my next tip is to stop overcomplicating things. Do not spend weeks sweating over these offers, over the prices, what to charge, what to include, how many reels, how many graphics, how many minutes of engagement. All of those little things, I'm going to say something that will probably surprise you, but they don't matter. I'm hoping I might be calling out a few of you here watching this video, watching maybe another YouTube video instead of getting out there and trying to book that first client. These are the things that will work themselves out in business. You don't need to stress and spend an entire 30 days creating your packages. Tip number 17 is kind of a random one, but it popped into my head when I was planning this video. And it's if you jump off a discovery call or you have an email from a client and they say yes to your services, jump on that right away and send them a contract and invoice. Businesses can unfortunately be flaky, they can ghost you, they can change their mind, and it's important to really capitalize on their excitement and their energy as fast as possible. Get it signed, get it paid before, I don't want to say they have any regrets because they're not going to regret working with you, but it is a scenario where things could change, where maybe they were in a really good mood when they talked to you, but now they're stressed and they're nervous about hiring you, which is totally normal as running a business. You've got to manage those incomings and outgoings, the expenses, and all of that kind of stuff. Following on from that, tip number 18 is don't be offended if clients do end up ghosting you. And I think it's important to recognize that this is a common thing, because immediately it's like, okay, I can take a breath. This isn't me. This isn't a me problem. It's not an attack on me personally. It is just simply the fact that it's just happened. And you just need to not take it personally and you need to let it go. Okay, my camera just rudely died when we were about to dive into a very important tip. Tip number 19, always sign a contract. Piece something together, because I can guarantee you some of your early clients will have misunderstood an email at some point, will have expected more reels or more of some kind of content, or they'll expect you to reply to an email on a Saturday and you're like, actually in my contract, here are my working hours. Little things like that really just help establish the boundaries, the expectations, and take away the risk of clients pushing any boundaries or misunderstanding things. On that note, when you're sending that contract, make sure you send an invoice and get paid upfront in full. A lot of people are surprised by this, but this is very, very standard practice, very common in the service-based world, in the freelance world, to get paid upfront for the work that you're doing. It helps give you the protection of getting paid. I know so many freelancers who end up having businesses ghost them and never pay for their services, and we don't want that to happen. Getting paid upfront is totally normal. If you don't feel entirely comfortable with that, at least take a 50 to 60% deposit. Tip number 21, sign clients for multi-month contracts. This can be great to give you some consistency, to be able to forecast your income. But one thing to note, if you are a complete newbie, you may want a little bit of flexibility. You may find that that first client that you booked isn't actually the dream client, so maybe you don't want to be locked into a long-term contract, but something to think about for sure. Tip number 22, don't agree to a free trial. I hate free trials. You can give someone a discounted service maybe if they are unsure, or if you're totally new and you have no testimonials, but I have never done a free trial. And to be honest, this is a massive red flag if someone were to ever ask me to do one. Tip number 23, some clients might need a kickoff call. So this is where you just get together, you brainstorm, you plan things, and that's totally okay, but something to consider when you're costing up your monthly fees, your monthly cost. And a lot of my students have introduced like a setup fee, which could include this, like setting up your Trello boards, your Google Drives for this client, having a kickoff call. So that's also something to think about. Otherwise, you're going to skip on through to tip 24, which is when we're getting into the meat of it in our 30 days of becoming a social media manager. And that's a helicopter, rudely interrupting me. Your job as a social media manager really starts when you start collecting content for your client. So there's going to be a process in the beginning where you're not actually posting anything, but you're getting copies of their logos, their brand colors, their brand fonts, all of those little things. Don't be afraid to ask for these things as well. Like ask them for their existing photos, existing videos. Maybe they've done some live streams or something on Facebook, or there's a video on their website that you can repurpose. Some people refer to this as content mining. I love that too. Often I'll go content mine a client's blog posts and create captions and carousels from there. Tip number 25, at this stage in the process, you could also send a client a vision board on Pinterest just so you're both on the same page. If they're doing their own photos or videos, you can send them a Pinterest board with inspiration or other accounts. I also personally love doing a Google Doc or a Google Sheet with a shot list for reels and descriptions and links and all of that stuff that helps my clients who are quite new to social media management and particularly video content. So you don't actually have to shoot and create all of the content as the social media manager. But likewise, if you're a photographer, if you love that kind of stuff, definitely offer this. For me, I already was good at photography. I already had all the gear. I already, had my YouTube channel, so I knew how to edit videos. I knew how to go in and film with someone. But I just want to stress that you don't all have to suddenly go out and buy an expensive camera. And this also opens you up to work with international clients, which is actually what I am doing more in my business at the moment. All but one of my clients are overseas and I don't create any of the content. I just come up with the strategy, help them with the graphics and that kind of stuff, but their photos, videos, they do all that. Tip number 27 is to allow 1 to 2 weeks to prepare the content for the client before you start posting. This is really my process as a social media manager, is really making sure I've got the content organized nicely in a Trello board with captions all ready to go, hashtags all researched, and then I get my clients to look at it, just make sure everything's okay, they're happy with it all, and then we start posting. So my month of social media management actually is more about like 5 or 6 weeks. And when I was side hustling, it would be the full 2 weeks for me to prepare the content and get it all ready before we start posting. This means you're not forcing yourself to create content on a whim. You're not sitting there at 8 o'clock at night being like, oh, I need to put this post up. What's my caption? And it also allows you to work with your clients and for them to be able to edit and contribute work. I've kind of sneakily gone into tip 28 here, but some of these are very interlinked. And tip number 28 was to make sure you're planning in advance so that you're not doing that mad scramble. Just listen to your clients and what they need, but do at least content batch a week out. Tip number 29, I've kind of already alluded to, but make sure you have a solid system or organization software in place to store and manage content. So I use Trello and ClickUp, but I also have in the past used Asana and Notion if that's what my client specifically is already using. This just means your clients can come in and easily approve content, and it also means you have a good catalog and database of all of the previous old posts once you've been working with a client for a while. So it's really great for repurposing, and it's just really professional and organized. Tip number 30, the final tip. We're coming very full circle here in our journey to becoming a social media manager. But you know how I said in the beginning, don't start an Instagram account? My final tip is to maybe start looking at starting an Instagram account. Now, the best part of this structure is it's so much easier to post content on social media as a social media manager when you have clients to talk about. When you can post on stories, hey, just writing captions for this client, or you can post a little screenshot when your client's like, these captions are great, these posts are great, these reels are great, thank you so much. Start building up that social proof. Or else you're just going to be one of those social media managers that posts stock standard tips and tricks. And we really want to start sharing our own experiences, our own opinions. We want to document our social journeys or our business journeys. And that is what you can start doing once you have the client. The other great thing is you will have built up your confidence. Once you book your first 2 clients, you are on cloud 9. So utilize that feeling. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you come along to my free live training that is happening on March 21st. I'm very excited about it. I have only done 1 live training in the past year. I don't do these very often, so I don't want you guys to miss out. The link to sign up is going to be down below. It's also only going to have a very limited time replay. I'm going to teach 2 sessions to tick off a couple of time zones, and then everyone signed up is going to get a 2-day available replay. So it is a really fun pop-up live event. It's going to be all new material that I haven't taught before. So if you've come along to one of my past webinars, definitely come along to this one as well. It's all going to be linked below, and I will see you guys there. Bye.